So I already correct so homework already for this one, right? Okay, come back with this program here. You write the program that repeatedly prompt the user to enter the number, and program should continue until the user enter number 0, right? So you write this program in the pseudocode. You write this program in the pseudocode. I will correct it when I do it again here, right? So you know you have declaration here. You have the two variable, right? You have nothing, right? Number and total here. Okay, and you know that for this one, the total is accumulated. You have initialized 0 at the beginning, right? And for this one, you keep doing it if number is not 0 here, so you have to initialize the number first, right? Number output here. Enter the number. Enter 0 to it. Okay, and now you start in the variable input number here. Okay, so that process you got it from user, right? And you start into the variable name here, and you keep doing it. Y number is not equal to 0, right? Now you do the activator here, total number, and of course in the body you need to get a new number here. Three. Total. Okay, this program, right? See, I corrected already, but anyway, I just put it here. You have the number and you have accumulator is a total. Here you have initialize 0 at the beginning, right? So whenever got the number, the first step you check if the number 0 or not, right? If not, you add it up to the accumulator here, right? And of course, you need the net number here. Now, this program will work very well in this program here. So think about, I enter for multiple number, right? I have the total at the beginning here. Total at the beginning, I have 0 here, right? Sorry, total at the beginning, I have 0 here. So what happened here? If I add number 5, right? If I enter number 5, I add it up, I have 5 here, right? And if I enter the number 10, I add it up, I have 15 here. If I add it up to number 20, I add it up, I have 35 here. It worked well in the program. I print it out well. But the thing about this program here, now think of somehow for this program here, right? For this program here, somehow, if I want to go back to see what is the first number, what is the second number, can I do it? Why? Why I cannot do it? Why? Why I cannot do it?
The value is like,
sorry?
The value is just erased.
Yeah, because you are override, right? Because you see, all you got it here. All you got it here. Every time you start into the variable number here. Right? You start in variable number, right? And you have the total here. In this program, you have two variable, number and total, right? And at the beginning, have 0 here. So what happened here? If I enter number 5 here, I got number 5. I add it up, I have 5 here, right? And if I enter number 10, it overrides because I use the same variable name here, right? I override, so I have a 10. I add it up, I have 50. So this process here, at the end of the process, actually, you're only able to store for the last number. You have no way to go back to see what is the first one, what's the second one, and so on. Right? Okay, so tell me, how can you, if you want to go back to the second one or first one, what is the way you can do it? Tell me.
It's different variable.
Yes, you can use a different variable here, right? So we think about this one here. And the number 1, you start in the number 1 variable, right? And you start in the number 2 here. And so on. But what happens if I have the 100 or 1,000 number? You need to use a separate 100 and 1,000 variable here. That's the first one, right? And the second one here is the loop here. I don't know when I stop it, right? So somehow I can use a number 100 or number 1,000 here, but the thing is that I don't know how to stop it with this one. Make sense? Okay, so in order to overcome this one, they come with the definition of array here. They come with a definition of array. Right? So we see what is array? The first definition of the array here. Now, If you look in the slide. You see for this program, right? Every time it works well with this program. Work well with this program, right? If I want to go over to the second number, I have no word to use. Yes, of course, I can do the same with the succession here, right? I can use a separate variable here, number 1, number 2, number 3 here. But what happened? This one only work with the 3 number. But what happened if you have the 100 or 1,000 number here? It not scale well here. You see, you have to do it for 100 or 1,000 times, right? And also we have to use it for 100 and 1,000 separate variable here. Make sense? Okay, that's why they overcome this problem by using array here. So what is array? In this chapter, we learn about what are the array and how can you create and load data into the array. And some application you use the array here and you find the total and average on the number. You find the minimum and maximum in the array. You find how array can replace the netted decision, and you can searching array for exact match using parallel array, searching an array for range match, and a two-dimensional array. So, okay. Now, what is array? The first definition, what is array? Array is a list. Sorry, array is a series or list of variable items stored contiguously in memory location. And the name is not continuous. You know that continuous. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Contiguous here. It depends on the data format. It depends on data format. Think about if you want to store integer number, right? It can be 2 bytes here. Right? But if you store the long integer number, it can be the 4 byte here. Right? But what happened here? So for the first one, if you want to store in the 2 byte here, so the first number is 0, the second one number 2, and number 4, and number 6 here. That is contiguous, not continuous. You make my point? You got my point? Because if you want to store the integer number here, you need 2 bytes. Right? So this one here, starting with the 0 memory. The second one, starting with 2 memory here, and so on. Right? But anyway, array is a series or the list of variable items stored in contiguous memory location. Right? That's the first definition. All the variables share the same name. Remember, they have the same name, right? All variables share the same name and must be same data type. So basically, this class is a computer logic. That means it applies to every programming language here, not specific programming language. Right? So basically, when you work the C or C++ or Java here, if you work the array, all elements they must be on the same type, same data type. And so if you're using the integer number, all of them they have to store the integer. But Python is exceptional. Python is exceptional here. Python is a list, not array. And in the Python, you can store it into multiple type data, not the same. That is exceptional in the Python. But anyway, I just go with the general concept here. So with the array here, it must be on the same data type, right? Now, each variable here, they have different subscript or indexing. Right? So think about this one here. I have array here. I have array here. So what's array? What's array name? Right here. So you see, all element here, they have the same name. They have the same name, correct here, right? And in order to separate between the element here, you use a index number. Right? Number 0, number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. Make sense? They have the same name. The only difference between them is the index number or subscript here. And remember, in the array, the starting index is number 0, not number 1. Remember that. Starting 0. Okay? So you see for this one here, right? I have in my array here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have 5 elements here, right? And remember the subscript or index here, I have 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right? So basically, the index or element in the array here, element is an item in the array. A subscript, position number of an item in the array. Remember one thing, starting from 0. It's starting from 0, right? And to 1 less than number of element in the array. That's why you see, even that I have a 5 element here, right? I have 5 element here, but the index only starting from 0 to 4, less than 1. 1, right? Make sense? Okay. And yes, that. Okay, and the size of the array is the number of elements in whole is array here. Okay. For each array element can be used the same way as a single item of the same data type, right? So we think about we have grade number 0 and grade number 3 and so on. Okay, so now if I'm asking you in look into the array here, so I'm asking you what is the value of the grade 2 here? What is it? What's the value of grade 2 here? If you look on the table.
65.
Yes, you know that grade number 2 here, that is 0, that is 1, that is 2. Right? So grade index number 2 here actually is the third element, not the second element. Right? That's why you have to skip it. So it's a very important concept. When you work the array, the first element, the index of the first element is 0, not number 1. Okay? Now, so how the array is occupied in the computer memory, that's what I mentioned here, right? So it depends on the data type. So some of them they have the 5 byte here, 5 byte here, or 5 byte here, or 2 byte. It depends on data type. Okay? But they put it continuously. Okay? Okay, so how can you create and load data in the array? So basically, when you work with the pseudocode or Python, right, you have multiple ways to create an array here, right? I remember that one thing here. If you want to create an array here, you should put element inside the bracket or separate by the comma here. Now think about this one here. This one I have my list here. That means I have empty array. Right? I have no element in this one. I have no element of this one, right? And I have my list here, 1, 2, 3. That means I initialize my array, my list in Python, right? Array here, and I have 3 elements for this one. Or in the Python, this one is specifically in Python here, right? I can create the list here, and with the 10 element, and I initialize all the 10 elements with the number 0 here. That's the way you work the Python, right? But anyway, this one is good for any programming language, right? You initialize empty or you initialize the array with specific element. You specify the number. You said? Okay. Now, you know that's the way you create the array here. The question here, how can you load data in the array? Think about the same, right? If I have multiple students in my class here, right? And each of you have the specific name, right? So I want to start in the array name here, right? And it's in the size of the array name here is number of students in my class, right? So think about in this one here, in my class, I have 8 students here, right? So now I want to get each name of each student and I want to start into the array here. So how I do it? Give me some suggestion how I do it.
Just get 8.
Sorry?
You get 8.
Yes, you get 8. That's good. And what else? You do it, enter the name number 1, enter the name number 2, and so on. Or what do you do? You do the loop. Remember that whenever you think about array, you do the loop. And why I tell you the loop? Because they have the same name. The only difference here is the element. The only difference here is index. Right, so see, I get the name 1, name 2, name 3, name 4, name 5, name 6, name 7, and name 8 here. You see, they have the same name. The only thing about the index here. So you know that index here, I can do the loop with the counter, right? Starting counter number 1 here, right? And if the counter less than 8 here, I keep doing it. And for in the body of the loop here, for every time I increase the counter by 1. Make sense? Okay, that's the key concept here. When you think about the array, you think about working with the loop. I know that some of you just put it here, and enter the first name you start in number 2, and enter the second one you start in number 2 here. You do it 1 by 1, it's okay. But you see, what happens if you have 100 or 1,000 elements in the loop here? You cannot do it 1 by 1, right? Okay, so do the loop here. Now think about this one here. Think about in my class here, of course, right? Of course, I can do this one here. I can do with my program here, right? So here, this here, right? Right? I have the name, right? That is an array here, and I have the name here. I have the 8 student here, and at the beginning, I can initialize with the empty list here, right? It's an empty list here. How can I do the empty list? or this one. Okay. Now, of course, right? I can put here, right? I can put output here. Okay? Output and the name for the first step. Okay, the first step. And what I do it here, I start, right? I start into the input here. Now remember, whenever you want to start into the array, you have to use a combination of array name and index number. Right? You have to use a combination of array name and index number. So for this one here, I put name and number 0. Remember, I have starting the first one with the index number 0, right? And now I can do the same one. I can do the same. I can do the same the second. And the name for the second student here. And I put here number 1, right? And I can do the same process here with the third student. Okay, and do the same process for S. Now, but this one is not good program because I mentioned that it's not scale well here. Right? What happens if I have 100 or 1,000 students? You do it manually one by one. So actually, you don't see any benefit using the array when you compare to separate variable here, right? Now, remember, that's the key concept here. When you work with array, you have to think about the working the loop. So even that when you getting input from user or when you print it out, you do the looking, right? So now for this one here, I know that I need to do it 8 times, right? I know that I need to do it 8 times here, so I can initialize the count here. Right? I initialize the count here, number 0 here. At the beginning, the count here it is index, right? So now what happened here? What happened when I do here, right? I do the loop. I do the loop. So what is the condition to exit the loop for my X class student here? For my class with X student here. What is the condition?
Well, count is less than 8.
Yeah, right? Or this is a definite number of iteration. You know that I have 8 here. You can use a for loop also. The while loop also is okay, right? Or for loop, it doesn't matter. Make sense? Okay? So now, if I work the while loop here, right? If I work while loop here, while count here, less than 8, right? While count less than 8. What happened here? I have the body of the loop here, right? I need to get enter a name for student. Sorry. That's all. That's all. I do it for each student. Right? So what happened here? You see what happened here? Now, if you look on this program, tell me what is the variable that controls the loop here? Count. Right? You keep doing it here. You initialize before, right? You check here. If count less than 8, you keep doing it. And in the body here, every time you increase by 1. Right? So what happened in the body of the loop here? Every time, right? Enter the name of student here. Calculate 1. Why I put calculate 1 here?
So the first time it's 1.
Yeah, because the count 0 here, right? I don't want to tell you to enter the name for student 0 here. You know that the first index in the array is number 0, right? But the element here is number 1. That's why I put it plus 1 here. You got the concept? Okay, that's all, right? And now you see, every time I got it, I start into the array name here. That is the array name, and that is the index number. Right? So see, I starting with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I start. Right? So see, from 0 to 7 here, I have 8 elements. Make sense? I have 8 elements for this one. Okay? Now, for this program here, I can work with a while loop, right? I can work with a while loop here. So you can open the Python here, use it. Follow me if you want. You just open the Python here. So do some activity as a white variable again. Right? You just open my program here. Right? You just open my program here for this one. Here. Now in the Python process here, right? You have okay. Yeah, later on I will explain the concept here. But anyway, right now. So in the Python here, you have two ways to work with the loop, right? You have the number of iterations. The first one is a number. Sorry, you have the definite number of iterations, right? The second one you have indefinite number of iterations. So basically, normally in the Python, if you work with definite number of iterations, you work the loop. You work the for loop here because you know for sure how many times, right? You work the for loop here, and normally in the Python here, if you know for sure how many elements in the loop, you can initialize at the beginning. So what happened here? I just create the list with the eight empty name here, right? I reserve the slot with the eight empty name for this one. And after that, whenever I got the name, I start into the here, A here, and B and C here, right? So the process here, I initialize the list with the eight element, and each of them with the empty list here, empty in the element here. Okay, now if I work with a while loop here, right? If I work while loop here, so we can see what happened in my program. I work exactly the same. So I have count here is 0, right? I follow exactly the same with this one. See, I work with this one here. Count 0 here, right? So y count here less than number 8, right? Remember that in the Python, after the y, you have to use the color here, right? After the y here, I get it from user, right? So I got the name from user. I store it into the variable name here, right? Name here, right? I store with the count. So what is it? Name here, it is a variable of array, right? Array name. Name here is array name, and the count here is index number. Count starting from 0, right? So I got it from user here. Right? I got it from user input, and the name for student. Number, what I put here. That's I then process with the get loading into the variable array here, right? After that, I just print it out. I can print it out the whole list here. Okay. So you see what happened with my program here. All right. You see what happened with my program. I initialize all the eight element here, all of them empty, and they store the string format, right? All of them empty here. So I initialize the count 0 here, right? And I keep doing it until the count less than 8 here, right? Until the count equal 8 here. So every time what I get, I got it from user, right? I got the name from user. And I store into the array. So remember that if you want to store in the array, you have to use a combination of array name and the index number. Right? So this one here, that means name here, 0. Right? This one name here, 1, and so on. And I go to the 7 here. Right? Okay. So now, it's long time I did not, and I already sure that. What is it? Equal, 4. Input expected more or negative not. Um, let's see if I modify this one. Okay, now if I have I have to modify this one. Okay, yes. So basically, I don't know what to do. Okay. Now, so we see what happened here, right? You see, when I run my program, right, I have A here, I have B here, I have C here, I have D here, I have E, and F, and G, and I have 18. Okay, so see, that program, right? I stored all of them into the array here. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. I bring it out the array. So that is the process it work in the Python for definite number of iteration. You initialize the 8 element here, all of them empty at the beginning. Right? And every time you do the loop, remember that the key concept here, whenever you do with array, you use the loop here. Right? You do it for 8 times. Every time you got a name, you got it from user, and remember the concept. If you want to store into the array, you have to use a combination array name. All of them has the same name, right? The only difference here is the index number. Now see, count here at the beginning 0. After that, you have 1, 2, 3, and go all over to the 7. Make sense? You guys got it or not? Got it? Okay. Now come back to my slide here. You don't have to go to the Python. I said we command you can come over to learn about this one. Now, so basically, in order to load data, right? Basically, sorry, one thing I can work with this programmers. You know that in the case, if you work with the number of the specific iteration here, you can work with the for loop. You don't have to work the while loop here, right? So in order to do that, you just modify this one here. Just modify program here, right? That for. That's all. If you work with this one with the for loop here, you know that the for loop, that means you work with the for loop when you know the number of the iteration for sure. This one is the definite number of iteration. You do it 8 times, right? That's all. You do it 8 times. Right, so see the concept is this. I thought it's the way it works the same. Right? D, F, G. Now that is the case that you load into the number of definite number of element here. So basically, when you want to load the data in the array, you remember the key concept I mentioned it multiple times. Use the loop. Don't do it manually one by one here. Do the loop, right? And the loop here. And in the loop, you know that you have the 2 categories of the loop here. Definite number of iteration or indefinite number of iteration here, right? So basically, normally, if you work with a definite number of element here, you use a for loop because you know for sure how many times, right? And in the case of indefinite number of iteration here, you use a while loop because you control with the sentinel value here. I think about keep enter the name until you enter the name with CCC here. That is the case of indefinite number of iteration, right? So in my program here, right? If I modify my program here. So for this one here, I don't know how many. I do not know how many students in my class. I just keep enter them until I enter the name CCC here, right? So basically, you see for this one here, I can put the name at the beginning here. It's empty here, right? So now I have. If I want to do that, what I have to do here? So in my program here, right? In my program here, I keep asking user enter name. And if name is not ZZZ, I want to store it into the array. So how I do it here? How I modify my program? Now tell me. I want to keep asking user enter multiple name for multiple student here. And I keep doing the process until user enters the name with ZZZ here. So how I do with my program? Now the first step here, what I have to do? What I have to do here? Yes, you have to while loop. But you know that if you want to while loop, so what you have to do before the loop?
You have to initialize.
Yeah, you have to initialize, right? So, okay, so now you know that you have to initialize here, right? So I have the what is it? Input name, right? You have to put the different name here, not the same with the name of the array, right? Input name. All right. You got it from user, right? So we have output, right? You have to tell them that first output with the prompt. Please enter the name, right? Enter ZZZ to exit. All right? And after that, you start into the name input. This one is a variable, right? You know this one here. Name here, it is an array name. And the name input here, that you got it from the user. I don't want to directly store in the array now because I don't want to store ZZZ into the array. Right? So whenever I got the name, the first step here, I have to check if it's ZZZ or not. If not ZZZ, then after that, I store into the array. I see that some of you make mistake here. So whenever you got it from user, you instantly store in the array. It's not good way. Right? Because what happened here, if the user enters ZZ, you also enter ZZZ into array here. You got my point? So the first step here, I need to get it from user. Now I check if it's not ZZZ, then I store it into the array. If not, I don't. Make sense? Okay. So now I got the input name here. I got the input name here, right? So what happened here? I do the while loop here, right? While input name not that is not ZZZ, sorry, ZZZ. Now, what I have to do? If I want to store it, into the array here. What I have to do here? What I have to do? I want to store it in the first element, second element, and the third element, and so on. What I have to do? Name what? Equals the name.
So you need a counter.
Yes. This one, the concept is correct, but the way you do it not correct. Because I mentioned that if you want to use an array, you only have to use a combination of array name and index number. You see, name here is only array name. You don't have the index number yet. So how can it? You want to start in the first element or the second element or third element here. So how we do it? Yes, you have to use a counter or index here. The counter actually is the index here, right? So we know that whenever we do that, you have to initialize. You have to initialize the index number 0 at the beginning because that is the first index, right? So yeah, right. You have to use the count here, right? Count here. Number 0 here. That's good. Right? So now what I have to do here? Inside the body of the loop, what I have to change it here? What I put it here? You have to use a combination of the array name and index number, right? So what I put it here? What I put here? Count, right? I put count here. Put count here. So we see. Yeah. Yes, that is that. I got it from user. I stored into name input. I check if name input not easy. I stored into array name. and the index count here. What coming next? What's the next action?
Count equals count plus 1.
Yes. You starting with 0, right? You need the second iteration number 1 and number 2 and third here, right? You always have to change it here. Right? You see, you have to count here. You got my point? So see what happened here. Right? I had multiple screen here. Right? I have multiple elements. At the beginning, I have nothing, right? I have nothing here. Now, see, I have 0 here, right? So see, I got the user name input, right? I check if not, I start in the first element. You know that the first element index number 0, right? Because in the array, the first element is index number 0, right? Okay, so I start here 0, and after that, I want to start in number 1, start in number 2, and start number 3 here. I have to increase it here. Otherwise, it always stays 0, right? Okay, now what else? What else in the loop here I have to do? What else in the loop here I have to do?
Ask for another name. So
yes, that's the main logic again, right? You got the name. You check if name is not easy. You store it right, and again you need to get a new name to check it again, right? That's the body of the loop here, right? Okay, so yes, you need to get a new name. You get a new name. Sorry, in the body of the loop. That's all. And why? Right? And why? That's the process. You load it into the indefinite number iteration. Remember, whenever we work the indefinite number iteration, use the while loop, not the for loop, right? Make sense? So yeah, write this one if you want to write this one in the Python here, a little bit different. Now stop, don't do it now. It's the Python, right? In the Python here, actually, when you initialize the empty list here, right? When you initialize the empty list here, you don't know how many elements you use that. So in the Python, you have to use the append function. Append, that means you add it to the list here. You add it to the list. Append, right? Append. Okay. Now, if you look into my program here, if you look in my program here, that is what I work with a definite number of iteration. That's what I work with a definite number of iteration here, right? I know I do it for 10 times, right? So I initialize here the number and 10 element here, right? And then for each number 0 less than 10 step here, I just get it, do it for 10 times. And you see, that's the way I work with you in the Python here, right? But in the case of indefinite number iteration here, for sure I have to use a while loop, right? I have to use a while loop here. I keep doing it. I keep doing it here, right? For this one, okay. I make mistake for this one. Actually, I make mistake for this one. I have to need with the process to get right. I equal to I plus 1. Otherwise, always stay at 0, right? Otherwise, always stay at 0. Okay. Now, you see, that's what I did it you with the pseudocode here, right? Now, in the Python, you can see what's this one. I have to initialize empty, not no element in my list here. Right? So what happened here? In the case, whenever I got the number, right, I append here. I add it to my list. I add it to my list. I add it to my list. Is that okay? So when you run this program with the Python here, you can see what happened. Let me open this one. All right. So see, it should be better. I break it here so you can see what happened. Now, see what happened if I put number 1 here. Right? If I put number 1 here, and you can see, right now after that one, what happened here? I have my array here. Right? I have array with number 1 here. Right? And now if I enter the new number here, number 5 here, right? Number 5 here, and you can see what happened. I add it to my array. Now I have number 5. That is the process of append. That means I add the new number into my array. I initialize array empty here, right? And whenever I have new number, I append it into my list. Okay? But anyway, right now that I expect you understand the concept of the how you load, how you create the array and how you load into the array. Remember, you only have the two kind of the category, definite number of iteration or indefinite. Definite, you work the for loop. Indefinite, you work the while. And remember, if you want to load into the data, into the array here, you only have to use a combination of array name and the index number. That's all. Right? Array name and index number. Make sense? Okay. Any question? No. Now think about this one. If I have, think about this one. If I have my array here, right? Then think about this. I have my array number here, right? Think about this one. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here. I have 8 elements in my array. I already have my array. The name of array is number, and I have 8 elements in that one. Right? And I have this one. I actually put this one. Right? I have array name is number, and in that one I have 8 elements. Now I'm asking you, if I want to print it out every element one by one of my array here, how I do it? How I do it? I want to take it out. Every single element, I print it out one by one. How I do it? You know the process how to load it in the array already. Now you already have array. How will you take it out one by one?
You just like output. Like,
huh?
You just say like output numbers with that.
I'm asking you one by one. Huh? I'm asking one by one. Yes, in the Python, you can print out the whole list. That's what I showed you. Right? But not in every program, not believe me. In any other programming language, if you want, you have to do it one by one. Okay, how we do it? If you want to print it out every single number. Alright, how we do it?
Output numbers 1, output numbers.
Yeah. No, not number 1, number 0, number 1, right? Now, yes. But anyway, let me tell you what happened. Alright, so if you want to print it out, right, you just output here. Alright, number. You have to use a combination of array name and index number. Alright, that is the first element, right? And of course, you use it for the second one, and third one, and the fourth one, and so on. Is that okay? That's right. But you see, what happens if I have 100 or 1,000 elements in my array? You have to do it for 100 and 1,000 times. Right? No. That's why I mentioned that. Whenever we work the array, always think about using the loop here. Using the loop here. Don't you do it for 100 times or 1,000 times here. You do the loop. How we do it? With the loop. Now, how we do this program with the loop? Yes, use the count here. You count from 0 to 8. Make sense? That's all. You see, if I modify my program here, right? I modify my program here, right? I set 4 here. I equals 0, right? And I less than 8 here. And step number 1, I set output. What I put here? What I put here? What I put in the index here? I, right? I put I. Because I'm starting from 0, come to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's all. Make sense? Yes. That's why I see. Whenever you want to load data into array, or whenever we take it out from array, you always have to think about the loop here. Not do it manually, do one by one. Make sense? Okay. And one of the think about this one, right? So think about I have many number here, right? So I have so many. Right? So many. I don't want to count how many elements. Some. I don't know. I don't know how many elements for sure, right? Because you have very huge array here. I don't have. So in that case, use the length function. So every programming language they support the length function. Some of them they are length of But anyway, length only return how many elements you have in the loop. Yeah, it always return how many, right? So think about this one here. Right? So instead of this one here, right, I can change this one here. I less than length number. So the length number here, it always return to the number of elements in the array, right? So I don't have to care that do I have 8 or 10 or 100 or 1,000 here. It only returns the number of elements. Make sense? Yes, that's why I mentioned that. Whenever you work with the array, you always have to think about the loop here. Don't do it manually. Don't do it manually. Okay. Now we go to the sum application of array. The first one here, by the sum and the average, right? That is the same when you work with the loop already. Right? When you work the loop here, right? So see, if I have the number, if I have the array with the name number here, right? Sorry, if I have array with the name number here, and in that one, I have multiple elements. I don't have to care about this one. I use the length function here or length or it doesn't matter. Right? Now this one here, you know that if I want to find the total, the sum here, what I have to do? Accumulator. Right? That I mentioned it in the loop here, in the process of the loop. If you want to sum it up all the input here, remember you use the process of accumulation. And in order to do the accumulation here, you have to maintain the accumulator. And the accumulator here, you only have initialize before the loop and you set it 0. Right? So whenever we got the number, add it to the accumulator. Add it to the accumulator. Make sense? Okay, so see, I have initialized that is the accumulator here, right? And I do it from the first element here to the length of the number, step number 1, I added them up together here, right? And of course, if I want to find out the average, I just take the total here, I divide by the number of elements. That's all. That's the way I work with the total and average here. Make sense? Okay. So this one also you can work with the flowchart or Python here. Right? So with the Python for this one also it's quite simple. Right? So remember that whenever you do with the total here, you only have to initialize the accumulator and set the value to 0 before the loop, right? So run the loop starting from first element. How I run it here? That's what I run it here. Starting from first element to the last element. And remember, every time I add it to the array element here, right? I have to use a combination of array name and the index number. Make sense? Next time you add it, I add it here. Okay? And this one also, you can work with the Python if you want here, right? See, think about this one. Think about if I have program, use the Python. Now, you can follow me if you want. I do everything with my Python here, right? So think about I have number here, right? I just put it, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So now I do right with the 4 here for in range. All right. For this one here, I can use the length function, right? Length function here. And here, number. Every time I just add it to the sorry, total here 0, right? Because you have to initialize the accumulator 0 at the beginning. Alright? So now what I put it here? I initialize the accumulator 0. That is my array here. So what I put it here inside the body of the loop. Every time I add it to the accumulator, right? So I have to put it here. The new accumulator here is a 1. Plus what? Sorry. Plus what? I put it here. What I put here? What I put here?
Number and then index I.
Yes, that's all, right? Number 9, right? Number 9. Make sense? Because here, I that means 0. Right? So number 0, 1. Number 1, 2, and so on. Make sense? Okay. So now I write it here, right? So I just print total here. Now let's see. Sorry, print. So let's see what return here. 36. And of course, if I want to average, I just take the 36, I divide for the length function, right? So I can print it here, average here. Or I can figure out the average. Total. Divide by length. Length is only return how many elements in your array. That's all. Sorry, this. Okay. Yeah, so now I run it. Okay. Sorry, I had to print also. Yes. See? That's all. Huh? Yeah, you know that's the process. Actually, that's the same process when we work with the loop here. When you want to find out the total, remember you have to maintain the accumulator. You have to initialize 0 as before the loop, right? Before the loop. And every time you add it up, add it up, add it up. That's why the name accumulator. Okay? Now, any question in this one? Now, the second application you can work with the width of array here if you find the minimum and the maximum. You find the minimum and the maximum. Now, if you look on the, I have array here, number, I have multiple number. Now tell me what is the minimum number? What is the maximum number? Tell me.
Negative 12 and 32.
Negative 12 is the minimum and 32 is the maximum. How? Tell me what is the process to find that? What is the process to find that? Actually, you have the process of comparison, right? You do it one by one. Now see, actually, here I simulate your brain here, right? Now see what's this one here, right? Yeah, it's starting with number 2 here, right? Now, number 4, I don't change anything. But number negative, I keep it the minimum here, right? And now I check it here. This one less than, I don't change anything, right? Less than, less than, less than, less than, less than, I don't change anything. So at the end of the process, I have find out minimum here, negative 12. Actually, it's just, the computer, you have to tell them exactly the same process. You have to compare every number together. It's starting from the first one. It's starting from first one. Now, if I want to find the maximum, again, I starting from the first one, right? I starting with number 2 here. Less than 4, so I change it to 4. Right? Greater than, I don't change. Less than 5, I change it to 5. Less than 8, I change it to 8. Less than 32, I change it to 32. Greater than 31, I don't change. Greater than, I don't change. Greater than, I don't change. And greater than, I don't change. Right? So actually, that is very simple program. You see that you have very limited number, but if you think about it, you have 100 or 1,000 numbers. You have to tell the computer work exactly the same. Starting with the first number, you compare one by one, one by one, one by one. Right? So if you want to find the minimum here, so whenever you find the number now greater than as a number, you have to change it to minimum. Right? Okay. So that process here. That is process. You work with the minimum and maximum here, right? You have to assign the minimum and maximum to the value of the first element. Value of the first element, right? And now we run the loops to scan it from the second element to the last element. Right? Scan it from the second element to the last element here. And for each iteration, you do the comparison here, right? So if the minimum right now, you have the greater than any number, for sure, it's not minimum. You have to change it. Right? You have to change it. So we have to change it. You have to set the minimum to the number you have right now. Make sense? Okay? And the same with the maximum also. Right? You have the third process from the third one, you run it from the second element to the last element here. And if anytime you find that maximum less than number you have right now, for sure it's not maximum number. You change it to the maximum and keep doing it here. Right? Okay, so you see in my program here, I work with the Python here. You see, right? You see in for this one here, right? In the Python here, you know that I can run the generate function here, right? I want to run it from the second element, so that's why I put it I number one here. I number one, that means second element. Index number one, that means second element, right? Okay, so now you see what happened here. I set the minimum. What is it? Assign minimum and maximum to the first one. Both of them, first element. Right? So I run it here. If I integrate here, I think from the second element to the last element, right? So if the minimum greater than, I change it to the minimum. Make sense? Yeah. If minimum greater than this one here, so I change this number to the minimum. And if maximum less than here, I change this one number to the maximum. And at the end of the process, I can find out what's the minimum and what's maximum. You got it? The process here. Now, I run program here so we can see it very clearly with the Python. And also the process apply exactly the same with the pseudocode and flowchart here. Now you see what happened. I have minimum. I have maximum. Okay, so now I run it. Now see what happened here. Now see at the beginning, right? I have maximum here, number one, and minimum number one. That is the first element, right? So now we see what happened with the minimum here. I see if the minimum here less than number 4, I don't change anything. Right? I don't change anything. But the maximum here, I go to this one. Right? I change it to number 12. And so on. So you see, the process keep doing it, 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 keep doing it until at the end of the process, I find out what is the minimum and what is the maximum. And it works exactly the same process for any array. Any array. This one is only how many? This one is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But the process will work for any array. 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 elements, it works exactly the same. Because the process is the same. The algorithm is the same. Make sense? Okay. Any questions with this one? So again, I can tell you that you can find everything in my slide, even with the pseudocode or flowchart or Python. I don't want to work this one with the Python and sorry, I don't want to put this one with the pseudocode or flowchart here because I hope you understand the logic and you convert it into the pseudocode and flowchart. Is that okay? So I think that's all for the lecture for today. I give you some activity for today. Give you some activity for today. This module was quite long because in the Wednesday you learn more about the array. That's why I break it down. Okay, so you go to the module number 6. You go to the assignment in class activity. You find the minimum maximum. And this one, I want you to convert it into the flowchart. Right? So you have to create a flowchart for a program that allow user to enter the name and price of multiple items. Right? And you store the item name and the corresponding price into parallel array. So remember, this one you work the parallel array. You have 2 arrays, right? You have 2 arrays. Think about it. Think name here, right? You have name here, price number 2, and name here, price number 5, and name here, price number 8. They are 2 parallel arrays. Make sense? Each of you have for each of the item here, you have specific name and specific price, corresponding price. Right? So now what happened here? You have to use array here to identify and display the name and price of the item with the lowest price and the name of item with the highest price. So the process here, right? The process here, you have to get input from user. You have to get input from user for the name and the price. And from that, you have to find out which one is the highest and which one is the lowest. The same process I showed it to you already in the slide. Okay? Again, remember that whenever we work with the loop and whenever we want to get it from user, use the loop here. For the array here, right? You use the loop here. Right? So it depends on you. You can enter for 10 items or 20 items, it's up to you. Or you can allow the user that keep enter the item until the item ZZZ here. Right? It's up to you. You're flexible with this one. You can work with a definite number of iteration or indefinite number of iteration. It's up to you. Make sense? Okay.